Hello everyone. Today, I'm continuing the story of Tusan, and I hope it brings you a few moments of relaxation. After escaping the kidnapping, Tusan still couldn't sleep peacefully. Every time she heard a car stop in front of the house or saw a shadow pass by the porch, her heart would race. The fear lingered, for the mastermind behind it all was still at large. That morning, there was a knock on the door. Two investigators stepped in, their tone firm but gentle. "We need a few more details. We hope you might remember something that could help us identify the person behind this." Tusan sat down, her hands clasped together, eyes distant as she tried to recall. She spoke of the deep, cold voice she heard on the phone the day before the abduction, of a gray truck she glimpsed in her rearview mirror, and of the strange perfume scent on the cloth one of the kidnappers used to gag her. The officers carefully noted every word. One whispered, "This could be an important lead. We'll send this scent sample for analysis." Outside, CEO Hoai waited. Since the incident, he had hardly left Tusan's side. Beyond caring for her, he actively assisted the investigation, providing footage from nearby cameras, lists of suspicious clients, even data from his company's security network. Every night, he stayed up late, replaying video frames, hoping to catch a familiar figure in passing. "I won't let this go," Hoai murmured, his eyes firm. "We'll find whoever's behind it." And Tusan, amid her fear and anxiety, could feel his quiet protection more clearly than ever. In the moment when the world seemed to turn its back, Hoai remained, patient, steadfast, walking beside her on the path toward justice. Though the culprits hadn't yet been caught, Tusan gradually learned to find calm again. Her wounds healed, but scars still lingered in her heart. Every loud sound or unfamiliar car outside her house made her chest tighten. Knowing this, CEO Hoai visited often. In the mornings, he'd bring her a warm cup of coffee. At night, he'd sit with her on the porch, listening to the wind through the trees, chatting idly so she wouldn't feel alone. He never mentioned the kidnapping, only small, gentle stories about life, about work, about upcoming projects. His calm, deep voice made Tusan feel strangely at peace, as if serenity itself had returned with him. Over time, Tusan began to open up. She smiled more, felt braver stepping outside, and started sharing little stories from her day. "My manager praised me today," she said. "I'm learning fast." Hoai smiled, his eyes soft with genuine joy. "I knew you would. You've always been capable, you just needed time to regain your confidence." Her new job at the cafe brought her new friends, kind co-workers who helped her with everything, from brewing coffee to arranging tables and chatting with customers. Each passing day, Tusan grew stronger, more self-assured. Meanwhile, Hoai's life also began to brighten again. After weeks of stress, his business projects took off, new contracts were signed, branches expanded, revenue climbed steadily. He was busier than ever, yet he never forgot to text her. "Beautiful weather today, don't skip lunch. I'll be tied up for a bit, but I'll stop by this evening." Amid life's chaos, their bond deepened, no longer a distant connection between a successful CEO and a woman once scarred by trauma, but two souls who had found solace and faith in each other. While Tusan slowly rediscovered her smile and peace beside Hoai, elsewhere in the city, Sun, the man who once thought he had everything, was now left with nothing but despair. Ever since discovering that his trusted friend Tuan had deceived him and taken all his money, Sun's world collapsed overnight. He lost everything, his wealth, his reputation, and even the people who once surrounded him vanished like smoke. Debts from gambling, reckless investments, and greed tightened around him like a noose. Each day, debt collectors came, some to demand, others to threaten. Once proud and arrogant, Sun now lived in hiding, drowning in shame. At first, he tried to recover, but as every door slammed shut, he turned to alcohol as a temporary escape. Day after day, people saw him slumped on the floor of a dingy bar, wrinkled shirt, unkempt hair, empty eyes. He poured another drink, and another, trying to forget, but the more he drank, the more memories flooded back, his mistakes, Tusan's face, his aging mother's tears. The mistress who once clung to him during his wealthy days revealed her true colors once the money was gone. Her sweetness turned to bitterness, her voice sharp whenever money came up. "You promised me the world, and now you're broke." "Why should I stay?" she snapped, slamming her purse on the table. Son slammed his fist down, voice hoarse from drink. "Do you think I wanted this? I lost everything. You think I don't hurt too?" She scoffed. "A man without money isn't worth trusting, son." Those words struck the last shard of pride in him. Arguments turned to chaos, shouting, breaking glass, a home torn apart. One afternoon, she packed her things and left, leaving him surrounded by empty bottles and cigarette smoke. After that, Son stopped sleeping. He'd sit by the window, staring blankly at passing cars, haunted by the past, by Tusan's quiet patience, her simple meals, her smile when he came home late. Those memories now felt like a distant luxury. Then the news of his downfall reached home. His mother, once proud of her successful son, now wept until her voice trembled over the phone. "My son, how could you let your life fall apart like this? You betrayed your wife, you gambled. How can you face anyone now?" Her words weren't loud, but they cut like 100 knives. Son screamed, hurled the phone, and buried his face in his hands. For the first time, he felt utterly empty, no money, no friends, no love, and no trust left in anyone. That night, the rain fell outside his window. In the dim yellow light, he sat motionless, staring at the bottle on the table. His face was gaunt, his eyes dull. He was no longer the proud man he once was, just a shadow, lost, soulless, and broken. After weeks of gathering evidence and cross-checking testimonies, the investigation team finally traced a crucial lead, Lynn, a woman who once had close ties with Tuan, the mastermind behind Tusan's kidnapping. That morning, as the sun rose, a police car stopped in front of an old boarding house tucked deep inside a narrow alley. A firm, authoritative knock echoed through the door. Lynn, in a wrinkled set of pajamas, her hair hastily tied up, opened it, startled to find 2 officers standing before her. "We're from the Special Task Force investigating the kidnapping of Ms. Tusan," one officer said calmly. "We need you to come with us to the station for questioning." Lynn froze, her hand gripping the doorframe tightly. She tried to appear calm, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of fear. Inside the interrogation room, the air felt heavy. The ceiling fan turned slowly, its rhythmic hum syncing with the heartbeat of the nervous woman across the table. "Ms. Lynn, you knew Tuan, didn't you?" the investigator asked. Lynn hesitated. "Yes, we used to know each other, but we haven't spoken in a long time." "When was the last time you saw him?" I don't remember exactly. Maybe 6 months ago?" The officers exchanged glances. One slid a folder across the table, photos printed from surveillance footage. In one of them, Lynn and Tuan were sitting together in a cafe just days before the kidnapping. Lynn's face turned pale. Her hands trembled slightly, but she forced a weak smile. "That was just a coincidence. I didn't know he was planning anything." The investigator said nothing, merely jotting a few notes down. The silence in the room grew suffocating. Sweat rolled down Lynn's temples. Deep down, she knew they were onto her, and one wrong word could destroy everything. After more than 2 hours of questioning, Lynn was released but required to sign a written statement promising full cooperation when summoned. As she left the station, her steps faltered, her face ashen. She had no idea how much the police already knew, only that their net was tightening. That night, Lynn sat alone in her dark room, cigarette smoke curling around her. With trembling hands, she unlocked her phone to call Tuan, but the screen displayed a cold message. The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Fear gripped her chest. Tuan was in hiding, and she, the woman who had once helped him cover his tracks, was now the next target. She whispered to herself. I can't be caught, they can't know everything. But deep inside, Lynn knew, the noose of guilt was tightening. Sooner or later, the truth would come out. As dusk fell, everything seemed quiet, until a figure staggered up to the door. The smell of alcohol filled the air, followed by the dragging sound of slippers across the tiles. She looked up, her heart clenched. Son, she murmured, her voice a mix of surprise and cold disdain. Before her stood Son, disheveled, drunk, his shirt wrinkled, hair messy, eyes clouded. He clutched a nearly empty bottle of liquor and slurred. Tusan, you owe me a lot. He staggered forward, laughing bitterly. I took care of you once. Now you've got money, a job, must be doing well, huh? Give me some cash. I need it. Just a little. Tusan stepped back, clasping her hands tightly to stay calm. She was no longer the fragile woman she once was, no longer afraid of her ex-husband's drunken rants. You should go, son. I don't owe you anything anymore. Her voice was steady, her eyes firm. Son let out a harsh, bitter laugh. You think you're better than me now? Huh? You used to obey me like a dog, and now you dare talk back? He slammed the bottle onto the table, shards of glass and liquor splattering across the floor. The cafe staff gasped and stepped back in fear. The manager quickly pulled out his phone, recording everything. Then he sent a text to CEO Hai. Mr. Hai, Son is here again, causing trouble at Tusan's cafe. I'm recording it as evidence. Just minutes later, Hai received the message. Sitting in his office, his calm eyes turned cold. Without hesitation, he called the police. There's a drunk man causing a disturbance and threatening staff at the cafe on Wendan Street. His name is Son, the ex-husband of Ms. Tusan. Please come immediately. Meanwhile, Son kept shouting. You have to give me money. I'm being hunted by debt collectors. Don't you care about me anymore? Tusan's voice hardened. I used to care, Son. But you betrayed me, you destroyed everything yourself. Don't drag me down with you. Moments later, the blare of a police siren cut through the air. 2 officers entered, their tone sharp and controlled. Mr. Son, please calm down and step outside to talk with us. Son froze, his face drained of color. He had never imagined that Tusan, once silent and submissive, would now stand tall, fearless, looking straight into his eyes. The officers escorted him out. Before being led away, Son glanced back at her, his eyes filled with shame and resentment. Tusan stood still, her gaze calm yet sorrowful. That evening, Hai arrived at the cafe to find Tusan sweeping up the broken glass. He walked over and gently held her hand. It's over. I'm here now. She looked up and smiled softly, her eyes glowing with quiet relief. I'm not afraid anymore. I just want to live in peace. Hai gazed at her for a long moment, his heart swelling with both tenderness and pride. The woman before him was no longer the frightened victim of the past, she was a stronger, braver Tusan, ready to protect herself and her future. Outside, rain began to fall, washing away the remnants of the past. A new chapter had begun, one where Tusan was no longer the victim, but the author of her own life. After the incident at the cafe and the police warning, Sun returned to his old house, his heart heavy with shame and despair. He tried calling a few old friends, hoping to borrow some money, but every call went unanswered, or met with excuses like "I'm short on cash right now." As the haze of alcohol faded, cold reality set in, debts piling up, no one left to trust, nowhere to turn. 4 days, Sun lived in fear. Every knock on the door, every sound of a car stopping outside made his heart race. He knew it was only a matter of time before the debt collectors came. And that afternoon, the moment he dreaded finally arrived. A loud pounding on the door shook the house, followed by angry shouts. "Son! You think you can hide from your debts? Get out here!" The door flew open, and 3 tattooed men stormed in, their eyes cold and sharp. Sun stumbled backward, his voice trembling. "Please, give me a few more days. I'll find the money." One of them snarled. "You've been saying that for weeks. No more lies. If you don't have the cash, hand over the house deed, now." At that moment, Sun's mother emerged from the back room, clutching her cane with trembling hands. She was frail, her hair silver, her face deeply lined from years of hardship. Hearing the threats, she gasped. "What are you saying? This house belongs to me. I keep the deed, you can't take it." One of the men smirked and pulled out a photocopied document. "Take a look, old lady. Your son already mortgaged this property to us. He owes over 2 billion dong and hasn't paid a single cent." The woman froze. Her dim eyes trembled as she stared at the paper. Her son's signature was there. "No. I gave him the deed to borrow for business, not to gamble it away. How could this happen?" Her voice cracked, tears spilling down her cheeks. Desperate, she pressed a few crumpled bills, her life savings, into the man's hand. "Please, take this for now. Give us a couple more weeks. I'll find a way to pay more. Please, don't hurt him." The men exchanged glances, then snatched the money. 1 week, one growled. "If we don't get paid, you'll lose the house, and he might just lose his life too." They left, slamming the door behind them, leaving mother and son collapsed on the floor of the empty house. The air felt thick, suffocating. The old woman sat in silence for a long time before turning to her son, her voice shaking with anger and sorrow. "My son, how could you end up like this? I worked my whole life to save that money, and now you've mortgaged our home?" Son kept his head down, unable to speak. Tears rolled down his face, mixing with his mother's sobs. "Why didn't you listen to me?" she cried. "Why did you gamble? Why did you lie? Look what you've done, to yourself, to me." Her frail hand struck his shoulder weakly again and again, each hit punctuated by a choked sob. "You've ruined me, son, you've ruined your own mother." Son wrapped his arms around her, his voice breaking. "I'm sorry, me. I just wanted to make money fast, to start over, but I was wrong. I was so wrong." She looked at him, her eyes filled with heartbreak and exhaustion. "It's too late now, my son. The price of greed is your future, and you're paying it with everything you have." Outside, rain began to fall, drumming softly against the rusted tin roof, like a lament for their fate. The once warm little home now felt cold and hollow, sheltering only 2 broken souls, silent beneath the storm of debt, regret, and sorrow.
Xin chào mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video của mình. Hiện tại câu chuyện của Lý Tiểu San cũng đã kéo dài được một thời gian, và hiện tại sau khi rời bỏ người chồng cũ là Sơn thì Sơn rơi vào trong nợ nần chồng chất vì bị bồ lý của mình lừa. liệu Sơn sẽ phải đối mặt với hoàn cảnh khó khăn này như thế nào, và Tiểu San liệu có mũi lòng và quay lại với Sơn hay không, thì mọi người nhớ đón xem ở video tiếp theo nha. Ở video tiếp theo thì sẽ có nhiều tình tiết hay và hấp dẫn, mở ra tình cảm của siêu Hải dành cho Tiểu San và những băn khoăn của Tiểu San với gia đình chồng cũ. Mình rất mong là mọi người đón xem những video tiếp theo của mình và ủng hộ kênh của mình để mình có động lực ra được nhiều video mới hay và hấp dẫn hơn. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video ngày hôm nay. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại mọi người nha.